Welcome to the Wealth Transfer. Now, we talked about China, oil, and gold, but watch where it's going now. Stay tuned. All right. So we left off talking about China, gold, oil, but how it all related. Now, if you hadn't seen that program, I do encourage you, go into the archive, go back and watch the series, because you want to see how it all connects. I also encourage you to, real quick, go to the Facebook page of Wealth Transfer Ministries. Go to the Facebook page of Cornerstone Asset Metals. If you want a newsletter style update of information, if you like the Facebook page of Cornerstone Asset Metals, as they put out these pertinent bullets of news and information globally that I promise you're probably not getting in mainstream media, then you go and like them on Facebook and you'll have that, and it conveniently will pop up there. I myself in the Twitter feed, not that I'm into social media stuff too much, but in the Twitter feed of it, I do try to put very pertinent little tweets in there that relate to these articles of de-dollarization and what's coming. So we were talking about China, crude oil, the benchmark backed by gold. And the reason that's important, China being in the world reserve currency basket could not be gold backed. So, this gold we hold here, these should have got the bigger ones, but this gold we're holding here, this is the real money of the world. And it always has been. And all through history. Now, our education system and narrative has been changing, of course, in the last few decades, because they want you to believe gold is old-fashioned. The reason gold standards were in place with governments all through history is they kept you in a budget. Hello, right? We couldn't live in a budget, folks. We're $1 trillion a year over. We can't sustain. We have $70 trillion in obligations we can't afford to pay. You see, we never would be who we are, and we're never going to be in this fiat world, because we can do whatever we want. We just, okay, you need a few $100 billion? Sure. A few $100 billion needed for that hurricane? There you go. Oh, wait, we need this? Here's another couple $100 billion. You see, in gold world, you couldn't do that. You could only spend what you have. Governments don't like that. Well, the problem is, if you stay in the gold world, though, at least you maintain wealth because you're a balanced budget. Now, what does that sound like? We the people, right? For the most part, shouldn't we balance our budget? Businesses, for the most part, shouldn't we balance our budget? Shouldn't we live within our means? But you see, the government can't do that. They need to buy off the votes of those that have nothing and those that will contribute anything, and yet they're getting money. Do you see? They can only do that in a fiat world. It could have been done all the way around, and we could have been wealthier and stronger and better. I contend the $16 trillion we've spent on the war on poverty, we're more poor now than we ever were, right? It's because they've blown this thing out of the water. It's lost 96% of its buying power since it started being printed in the new standard. It's just the way it is, folks. And so we have more poor because what they have doesn't get them anything, you see. If we stayed in the gold standard, I really contend we would have been more focused on building, producing wealth. Back into why this is vital is because our money has been changed into fiat currency, and the fiat currency has run its course. And so I know the time's coming and soon, but the reason I'm feeling a little more pressured is something's changing quickly. And it's this China crude oil benchmark, because they couldn't do it before. Being now that they got in the reserve, they just got the currency out in the markets. They got the currency hubs established around the world in very strategic places. They now became a currency that was respected. Next step was to get to the IMF. Then they come out with this. The United States and Saudi with OPEC run the oil trade. We controlled it. Now, there's gamemanship going on why, America and the oil crashed and the whole stuff in North Dakota. But there's a bigger picture here. China going to gold as a backing for their contracts will no doubt give the world a lot more confidence than the derivative manipulated markets of the United States market. I mean, these markets we have now, folks, they are liars. And they're banks investing in it that don't have any interest, no money. It's all leveraged. It's not, and I say liar meaning because they're not backed up. They don't have assets behind it. You think your money's in the bank? It's not. Not even close. Look at now. If you try to take $5,000 of cash out of the bank, they almost think you're a criminal. You notice how they try to make it that you're a criminal if you have cash? The contrary is they're the criminals. And Thomas Jefferson had it right. A criminal and the government is one and the same. So let the Constitution bind the latter to keep them from becoming the former. I think he knew. Unfortunately, we've kind of trashed out our Constitution to the point where it doesn't matter. We're now becoming the criminal as a government, I say. So there's not much we can do. I'm personally not one to advocate, hey, let's change this. I think Trump, if anything, folks, wasn't about President Trump. I think a lot of people had issues with his character, or if anything, he was kind of punky. He didn't get elected because it was Trump. Trumpism is what elected Trump, meaning conservatives, people that care about the Constitution, people that care about being free, people that care about their community. They don't need to throw in 900 Islamic immigrants into a small town, destroying the whole fabric of the culture like there are in Europe. So this was a Trumpism issue because I believe there's a major chunk, and it looked like obviously 60, 70, 80 million, I believe more so in the end, that understood it had nothing to do with President Trump. Had everything to do with the cultural fabric of the United States. And it's why you're seeing on the left, they're tearing down. They're spitting on the Constitution. They're spitting on the anthem. They're trying to make it about civil rights. Civil rights? Folks, come on. Really, we've all grown up at enough. Our culture is fine. I've seen every race of every culture become successful at every level. It's not easy. It's never an even playing field. It wasn't an even playing field in me growing up. But they're tearing us apart internally, I believe, to prepare us for what's coming. Because if this financial tsunami that I see coming happens the way I think it's going to happen, what a perfect recipe to be tearing at each other culturally and then have the economic wave hit us. And the Chinese, they know the Chinese are doing this. Do you know, just before this was announced, the Chinese gold back in the oil, our Treasury Secretary supposedly went to Kentucky, Fort Knox, to confirm our gold holdings. That was such a weird political PR. Folks, I've never, in 40 plus years, there's only been 2 other times maybe, a Secretary Treasurer went and saw that. And he didn't look at that gold. He didn't certify that stuff. I don't think we have what we say we have. And I think we leased out most of it, meaning that we don't own it. Something's really bad. But I think, you notice they did that right before this China thing was announced. So I see through it, and I'm shocked because it's coming. So why is oil, we know, is the dominant form of currency in the world? Money, really. It's a tangible asset, so it could be a money. New crude oil buying. Who's the king of crude oil consumption? That's right, it's China. Look at this chart here. The green line is Chinese imports, and the other one is the United States imports. Now, granted, if you notice, the Chinese have far surpassed us now in oil imports. They've also surpassed us in trade. So you see, they're taking over the landscape of the world. Now, if the Chinese are the ones in demand of oil, the ones that produce the oil want to be friends with those who are buying the oil. The biggest part of why we were fracking in our country was because we were trying to get away from that 700 billion plus we were spending on importing oil and produce our own. I mean, I'm a little bit weirded out by fracking because I think it's probably why Oklahoma's had 700 earthquakes in the year. Something smells about that stuff, but it's what they did. And unfortunately, it's not working, and we're not able to produce as much as we were hoping. I'm all for it, though. If America can do what they can do, let's try to do what we can to stay away from this. But we are not the king of oil anymore. We are not the dominant anymore, you see. And once this depegging takes place, this is over. And I believe this Shanghai Agreement, the Chinese trade dominance, and the Silk Road movement controlling the oil trade backed by gold is enormous. Why? This is their own billboard. New choice, world currency, renminbi. Folks, get protected, get preserved. Just know this is bigger than you think and sooner than you think. So I got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Terrorism, a volatile stock market, rising food costs, natural disasters. Every day our economy is at risk, but your assets should not be. Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked so hard to gain. Whether you have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, our accredited asset management specialists are here to support you. Call now and we'll send you urgent information regarding changes to the dollar and challenges to our economy that you need to be prepared for. Learn how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA. We can even arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or send it directly to your home. Do not delay. Call 888-747-3309 or register online at cornerstoneassetmetals.com today. Invest in precious metals and create security in your future today. Call now.
Welcome back. So I can't make this up as far as that billboard goes. Now, the billboard is from the Bank of China. And what they're trying to say is that the new choice, the new premier bank of the renminbi services, the yuan, the new world currency. And I know one of the producers here, he just brought up a point there in the break, and he said, man, that coin looks like that one that was on the Phoenix, on that Economist magazine. I said, I'm telling you, I get goosebumps. And here's what is most important that I can do for we the people. This is a big idea of shifting global economics and reset of currencies and all of this. Everyone asks, though, when? Okay, we see it. When? Folks, it could be any day. Maybe not. Maybe another 6 months. Maybe a year, 2 years. I don't know. I know it's close enough. Close enough that if I've worked my life to save up for retirement, you better believe a chunk of that better be protected in a tangible asset, something real that can't be frozen, can't be locked out, and can't be taken. There's many ways to do it. I know Cornerstone is phenomenal at those services, but just keep that in perspective. Because if the Chinese are going around the fiat system, their currency is not to be backed by gold, and they go around that by doing the oil backed by gold. They crush the dollar. And they do it without a bullet or a bomb. You got to love that. And I just find it very, very, I don't know a better way to put it, it's slow. And it's building on. And I know for those that are serious, not talking religious Christians, I'm talking those on fire in the spirit, and you pray and you know, your eyes are open and you see a truth differently. I can explain sometimes this stuff in a group. One is absolutely on fire and believes it and is ready to go, and another one completely in denial. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But all I know is this is real. And this oil contract that is online, that is getting ready to brainstorm this world, is going to be backed by gold, and they know it. Now, here's one that'll get you. Here's a headline that came out on this. China readies the yuan-priced crude oil benchmark backed by gold. This was just September 1, 2017. Folks, I can't make this up. It's getting done. And if the Chinese, as our financial media says, only has a few thousand tons of gold, how could they do this? You see? They know that the yuan is going to be a dominant currency. They know that doing the oil contracts in the yuan, most people just keep the yuan and it'll be good because they'll use it for trade. but to offer it convertible to gold if you're uncomfortable. What an insurance policy. Because as I've said before, and history will say, every single one of these fiat currencies goes to zero all through history. This just happens to be, and I don't mean to laugh, I'm just stunned that it's happening. It just happens to be our time. Now, I know there are people that say, oh, that's ridiculous, maybe 20 years from now. All right, we'll see. I don't want to wake up one Sunday night and go, what just happened? Because what will happen, folks, when this hammer falls, your currency valuation will collapse. Your stocks and bonds will collapse. You can't get out of the stock market if you want to. I don't know many of you caught, but last April, they passed a law that you could no longer set automatic stop losses in your positions. Meaning if your stock price drops at a certain point, you automatically sell it and you don't have to call your broker to do anything about it. They got rid of that. Why? Now, I imagine those in the hooligan world of the regulatory world will probably say, oh, well, that's to keep it from crashing a market. Oh, no. Try getting a hold of your broker in a market crash to sell that stock. It's not going to happen, folks. Try getting a hold of your broker right now. You see? So when that stock market comes down, try getting out. So if you're not properly positioned in protecting and preserving your assets, you could lose 20% in that stock market before you ever get a hold of your broker, and maybe more if he talks you into staying. And then if you decide that you want to go and buy something like this to protect yourself, which I would recommend, but if you decided to, the premiums on this would be explosive. See, the futures market sets the price of silver. Futures market's a sham because it's manipulated by derivatives. It's not true physical for a true price. So a premium, especially in a physical world, is a difference of price that you can buy a spot price of physical metal for. And then you got to add in all the costs. There's minting, there's refining, there's shipping, insurance, delivery, storage, different things that go into actual physical metal holdings. So in the refinery side of things, he told me, Terry, you know, it doesn't matter. If silver was $25 an ounce, these people could be paying $50 an ounce just to get the physical. Because there's going to be such a lack of supply that if you want it, how much are you willing to pay for it? And they're convinced that there's going to be a massive gap in what the market tells you the price is and what you're actually going to have to pay for it. So it's just the way it is. Nowadays, you can do that. You know, you can pick up silver. I mean, you can get it as, they're varied. I mean, I've seen prices vary 50%. I mean, even the British government is selling a coin like 40, 50% more than even Cornerstone sells theirs. It's insane. But those are differences of value. Like, well, this is collectible. They don't care. The Chinese don't care. They're buying it. Our vaults are getting emptied, and I care that we, the people, get it. Because look at this. Now, when it comes to oil, for instance, where's the source of oil going? Now, remember, China surpassed us in trade. They are now king of oil consumption. Look at this chart. China's sources of oil, thousands of barrels a day. Look who their partner is. Saudi Arabia, Iran, Venezuela, Russia, Sudan, Oman, and a bunch of others, and then of Angola. Isn't that amazing? Now, did you notice the Iran, Venezuela, Russia, Saudi Arabia built the largest refinery in Saudi Arabia in the world, the Chinese? Do you see America slipping in its influence? You see? That goes to the heart of what I tried to explain in the trilateral between Iran, Russia, and China. That's why that stuff just baffled me when, Hussein Obama, our President Hussein Obama, made that Iranian deal. Almost none of it made sense. But now we've empowered this unit over there to destroy our petrodollar. We lost every skirmish or false flag that happened in the Middle East over the last 8 years. We've lost them all. And we gave back the territory that we went to war with in Iraq. Now, a difference of opinion of going to war. I got a National Defense Medal from the Army. I get it. But I wouldn't give it back. I don't know if he hates the military so much that he just let it all fall apart and let Iraq fall apart. But he allowed ISIS to rampage Iraq, President Obama. I just don't get that. But all I know is the Chinese are watching this. And the only thing I could ever remember is, Putin's bareback and riding, chest out and no shirt on a horse and messing with tigers, and President Obama was riding a bicycle in dress pants and a helmet. I think maybe the world saw the two different kind of leaders, and they took advantage of that. And they took advantage of us in the destruction of our relationships in the Middle East and the petro, because I'm showing you factually how China has taken over the dominance as a leader of, say, influence and favorability in the Middle East. Now, the only reason, and I contend it's the only reason we're still there now, is we have the best military in the world. And it's not because I'm a veteran in the Army and I just know we are the best. We are phenomenal sharpshooters, tremendous equipment. Oh, of course, the Israelis are pretty good. But we're the best in the world, and they want our military equipment, and they want us to do their dirty work. Folks, are we going to have them do our dirty work forever? Or, are we going to do the dirty work for them forever? You see, something's breaking down, and I'm showing it here why it's breaking down. I'm going to get back and show you something after this break, but get protected and preserved, get educated, and get started. I'll be right back.
Terrorism, a volatile stock market, rising food costs, natural disasters. Every day our economy is at risk, but your assets should not be. Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked so hard to gain. Whether you have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, our accredited asset management specialists are here to support you. Call now and we'll send you urgent information regarding changes to the dollar and challenges to our economy that you need to be prepared for. Learn how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA. We can even arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or send it directly to your home. Do not delay. Call 888-747-3309 or register online at cornerstoneassetmetals.com today. Invest in precious metals and create security in your future today. Call now.
Welcome back. So my job is trying to, anyway, connect the dots. I try to look at a big picture and I try to connect it. Not a conspiracy nut. You know how they have them on the wall where they have strings going to photographs and cut out newspaper articles. Not like that. I'm talking academic stuff. I'm talking hardcore kind of data point stuff. And I don't get my information, folks, from the United States. I just can't. The mainstream media has gone AWOL because in all socialism and elitism, where I call it an 80-20 world, even in communism, most people contend 20% is too big, but I'm just merely saying because in every hierarchy of communism and socialism, there's always the underlings that are loyal to them and underlings loyal to them. And so there is an elite group at the top that pretty much live as good as you can. And the rest of us are just slaves in poverty. Just go look at Venezuela and Argentina and China and Cuba and keep going, right? So object is to look through and see what is true. And I connect these dots. And as I've been connecting them, I'm stunned at our gaffes and our successes. And then I was wondering over the last 8 years, were these gaffes just because there was no intelligence there? I mean, he was only a community activist, so it's not like he had, skills. And those around him were card-carrying socialists, and a lot of them, our parents, were communists. Jarrett and them that should be in jail from all the things they did, but they didn't. And I won't get into why in the pedophile networks or anything, but what I'm saying is they allowed something to go away, a hegemony to leave. And now, maybe they didn't allow, maybe they just we're terrible at it. But we lost it. And it probably didn't help that we went to war either under the Bush. So don't get me wrong. I think both parties are taking us down the same rabbit hole. But all I see is our hegemony disappeared. Check this out. Talk about dots so far. 2010, the World Bank president, Robert Zoellick, suggested gold be the reference point of a new global monetary system, which includes an internationalized Chinese yuan. 2012, Iran began accepting yuan for oil, breaking the petrodollar deal. 2013, People's Bank of China declares it no longer needs to accumulate foreign exchange reserves, U.S. Treasuries. In 2014, the global FX reserves fall at the fastest pace in 70 years, folks. 2014, Shanghai Gold Exchange, if launched to help internationalize the yuan. It's launched, folks. It didn't if, it did. 2015, Russia begins trading oil in the yuan. And that's not all. Next program, we're going to get into even more connections of de-dollarization, I call it. And you're going to start to see how the world is unraveling away from the relationship to this. And how does that impact us? As the world unravels away from this, we will see inflation and potentially a hyperinflation scenario. And there's people out there, economists, that are, gold's going to $400. Chief, pack it up. He makes a fortune on these predictions. 9 out of 10 of them are wrong. All I know is it's impossible when the rest of the world is going that direction. Oh, we're in a deflationary environment. It's going to be that. I get it. We are in deflation, which means prices coming down in an inflationary environment. It's the craziest thing we've ever seen. And I contend that that deflation is true because the baby boomers and the economy is collapsing. Now, regardless of how good you think it is, folks, I'm with you. It looks good on the surface. And we have been seeing activity in small business because small business runs this nation. But when that credit freezes, everything changes. And so, next week next program we're going to get into outline a little more of this de-dollarization. So you're not going to want to miss that. And I encourage you, go to Facebook and like Cornerstone Asset Metals, and that'll be almost like an ongoing newsletter. And I know by liking it, we'll post it into your timeline. So until then, I just want every one of you to pray to make sure that you have an open view of what is coming. Now, wisdom and understanding touches you, and the fire of heaven allows the lamp to be there unto your feet. God bless you. See you next time.